Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is the video on Azure Blob Storage communication with .NET 7 Web API for file management. In this video, we are going to understand about Azure Blob Storage and how to upload, read and download file from the Azure Blob Storage using our .NET 7 Web API. So here is a small diagrammatic representation of Azure Blob Storage. In general, Azure Blob Storage is a Microsoft cloud service for managing, like storing or retrieving the file from the cloud. Okay. So in Azure Blob Storage contains three main building blocks like storage account, container and blob. Storage account is nothing but creating one kind of account inside of the Azure cloud. So this storage account gives a namespace for our files. Namespace means nothing but a subdomain gets created with the name of our storage account. So using that URL, we can access our files. Okay. Next, coming to the container. Containers are nothing but the just like folders in a normal file system. Okay, you can see here upload images and upload videos. Those are two different containers. Okay, and next blob. Blob is nothing but any physical file. We can call it as a blob because it was saved as a unstructured data. That means any kind of data can be stored. Okay, so that is the simple diagrammatic representation of the Azure Blob Storage. Now let's create the Azure Blob Storage account in our Microsoft Azure Cloud. Okay. So search like Azure portal login and click on the top link. Okay. And if you don't have a Microsoft account, please create a free account with the Azure cloud. Okay. So since I have already created, I'm not going to show all the registration steps, but while creating, it might ask you either your credit card and the debit card details. And one thing is this Azure Blob Storage service doesn't charges you for basic usage. Okay, which is very really helpful for students or the learners who are new to the Azure cloud. But we should give our credentials like credit card or debit card while registering. Okay, so let me sign in since I have already had a account. Okay, if you successfully registered and you sign in, you can see a dashboard or a home page like this. The first thing we have to do is here you can see a plus button like create a resource. Okay, click on it. Okay, so here you can search like storage account. Okay, and here you can see the storage account one card and you can click on this create button. Okay, now we will get a create a storage account form here. We have to use it. Okay, so here subscription. Okay, this is my subscription I am going to use. If you have a free subscription, in the drop down it will automatically populate. If it is a paid subscription also you can use because Microsoft won't charge if you use the Azure Blob Storage for the basic usage. Okay, so I'm going to select my pay as you go. If you are a student or if you are new to the Azure cloud, you will get 1 month free trial. Then you can access the uh, free subscription here. Okay, and here one thing you can observe resource group. Resource group is nothing but like a folder. Okay, so in this group we can have or we can add a number of Azure services. Now we are adding our Azure Blob Storage service into this resource group, right? Like that, you can have like Azure Service Bus or Azure AD, all those into one resource group, like a container. Okay, so if you have already created any resource group, you can use it, or else you can create a new resource group. I am creating new resource group. Okay. Okay, that is my resource group name. And here is the storage account name. Okay. So this is main important thing because this storage account name will be used to generate the subdomain. Okay, using that domain we can access our files. Okay, so please give a meaningful name. Okay, for this demo I'm going to give like, okay, that is my storage account name for this demo. Okay, and you can leave region, default, and performance. You can use standard and redundancy. And here you can see we are in the basic tab of create storage account, and you can see there are several options. But what we can do, you can skip all those with the default options. Okay, for that you can directly click on review button, or if you want to configure individually you can click on next button. So what I will do, I will directly go to the review tab by clicking this review button. Okay, let's wait for a while because here your create button will be enabled. See, it is enabled. After applying some validations, it is enabled. Okay. Now here it will display all the default settings what we have registered in the form. Okay. Now click on the create button. So here you can see initializing and deployment. That means our Azure Blob Storage is creating. So let's wait for few minutes. And here you can see deployment is in progress. So wait for few minutes. And you can see deployment is successful. That means Azure storage account got created. Now click on this go to resource button. Okay, and this is our Azure Blob Storage account. Okay, so if you recall our Azure Blob Storage structure, it contains storage, container, and blob. Currently, we are done with creating Azure Storage account. Now we have to create the container, right? So let's create the container. So in this Azure Blob Storage account, on left hand side, you can see a menu like container. Click on it. And here you can see a plus button with container. So click on it. It will open a form. Now you have to give your container name. Okay. So I will give like, that is my container name. So here it is showing all the letters in the container name must be small case. Okay. So okay, and here public access level, like what kind of you have to access, give the access. Like if you want private means no one can access it. Okay, and if you want anonymous read access only for blob, for only blob only. If you want to give permission for container also, then you can choose it. For my demo I can choose the container level permission. Okay, now click on the create button. Wait for few seconds, container will be created. So here you can see the container. If you double click on it, so this is our container, and here you can upload your document. So to upload, if you click on this upload, it will show the form for upload. Okay, you can select from your local machine. Okay, so what I will do, so here I have some car pics. Let me upload this pic. Okay, click on upload, and here see this item. Now it is called a blob. Okay, this item, whatever it is coming, we have blob. That means storage account, container, and the blob combinedly creates the Azure Blob Storage. So if you want to access this image directly, since we have given permission like container and blob as well, right? So copy this URL and paste it over the browser and see. We are able to access the image. So that is how Azure Blob Storage works. Next, we are going to create a .NET 7 Web API, and we are trying to upload the files and read the files from the Web API itself. Okay. So let's try to create the project .NET 7 Web API. Okay. Here I am going to use the CLI and Visual Studio Code Editor. And one of the best option is to use the Visual Studio 2022 version 17 to create the .NET 7 applications. Because my system not supporting, I am using the .NET CLI for creating the project. Okay. So this is the CLI command for creating the web API project. .NET space new space template name, that is web API -o, that means output directory I want, and name of the project. So let's enter to create the API project. So the project got created successfully. Let me open my project in Visual Studio Code Editor. Here is my API project, and we can observe target framework is .NET 7.0. Okay. Now, as a first step, let's install the Azure Storage Blob package. Okay, which is a NuGet package we have to install now. Okay, search like Azure Storage Blob NuGet and click on the top link. Since I am using .NET CLI, right, I can copy the command from this tab. If you are using Visual Studio 2022, then copy the package manager, or you can use the user interface of a package manager that is pre-built with Visual Studio. Okay, so let me copy the command, open the terminal, paste the command and install it. Okay, package got successfully installed, and you can see the package reference attached to our .cs project file. Okay, now to communicate with our Azure cloud, we must have a connection string. Okay, so for that, in app settings.development.json file, let's define property like connection string. Inside of it, let me define like Azure store blob, sorry, blob storage. So here we have to paste our connection string. So where we can get means we have to go to our Azure portal dashboard. So here is my Azure Blob Storage account, right? So here on left hand side you can see the security and networks. Under it you can see access keys. Okay, here it will provide key 1 and key 2. Under that key 1 and key 2 we have connection strings. You can use any one of the connection strings. So to use that, click on show and copy the connection string and paste it over here. Okay, that is my connection string. Okay, now what we have to do means we have to register our blob service client, which comes from our package, that is Azure Storage Blobs. Okay, so for that registration, we have to go to program.cs file. Okay, here builder services dot. I want to register that blob service client instant at scope, means for every request it will be a single object. Okay, so scope, and here I can return new blob service client. Okay, that loads from Azure Storage Blobs library. Okay, to that we have to pass the connection string. There are overloaded constructors, so we have to pass here connection string. So to pass the connection string, builder dot configurations dot get connection string, and here we have to pass our connection string property name. Okay, so let me copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so this is our service registration. Now let's create a normal service files where we can implement our logic for communicating with the our Azure cloud blob storage. Okay, so for that, let me create a new folder like services. Inside of it, let me create and first an interface file like ifile service. Okay, this is our service file interface of our service file. Now let's create the class service class like file service.cs. So this is our file service class. So here let's try to inject our blob service client. Okay, so I can do like await read only blob service client. Okay, so let's import the namespace and let's inject into the constructor because we have registered the service right here so that I can inject into the constructor. So blob service client, okay, and assign it to our blob service client read only variable. Okay, now let's inherit the I file service. Okay, and now let's register this file service in our program.cs file at scope level. Okay, builder service dot add scope and define I file service, comma file service. Okay, so now in this service file we can implement our logic for uploading or reading the files. Okay, so next we are going to implement three endpoints like uploading a file endpoint, reading a file endpoint, and downloading a file endpoint. So previously we have registered our blob service client and also created some service file to implement the actual logic, right? So now let's create the controller so that we can implement three different kinds of endpoints for managing the files like uploading, reading, and downloading the files. These are three endpoints we are going to create in this demo. Okay. So first step, let's create the controller. So for that, in the controller file, let me add a new controller like file controller. This is our controller file. So first let's inject the our file service into the constructor of this controller. Okay. Private read only I file service file service I file service. Okay, import the namespace and assign it here. Okay, first thing I want to do is uploading a file into our Azure Blob Storage. Okay, for that go to our file service.cs file. Okay, let's write implement the logic for uploading the file. Okay, so I will write a method like public async task and upload. Okay, so for uploading a file, we should have payload, right? So first let's create a payload entity for our endpoint. So let's create a new folder like models. In that models, let me add a new class like file model. Okay, this is our payload class. Here I will add a property like public iForm file, which is a .NET type iForm file. This can read the stream of data that was posted by the user for the endpoint. Okay, so I will name it like image file. So through this iForm file, we can read the image file. Okay, now I can input the file model here as a input. Okay, now here I can implement my logic. Okay, first thing is I have to create an instance for my container. So if you go to our storage accounts, we are already created one container right u2 fix. So for this container, I have to create the instance from my code. So to do that, what I can do means container instance. Okay. So blob service dot get container client. Okay, to this container, we have to pass the name of our container. Okay, copy this container name. Okay, give it here. So it will generate an instance of the container, Azure Blob Storage container with this name. Okay, now from this container, okay, I have to create a blob. Blob is nothing but a file. So from this container, I can create a blob. Okay, so blob instance. So blob instance. Okay, so from the container instance, I can create the blob instance because in this container we want to create one blob. Okay, so get blob client. Okay, and we have to define the name for our blob. So what I will do, I will simply assign the name of my uploading file. Okay, file model dot image file dot file name. Okay, so now I have the instance of the blob. Now I have to push it to the Azure cloud. Okay, to do that, what I can do, await blob instance dot upload async. So this method going to upload the whatever the blob we are trying to create. Okay, so to this blob we have to pass our file stream. For that I can do file model dot image file dot open file stream. Nothing but I am passing my file stream into this upload async method. So with this blob instance, whatever name we have specified with that name, our file got saved into the Azure Blob Storage. Okay, that's it. That is our logic. So let's create a method definition in our iFile service. Sorry, iFile service and define the method definition. Okay, import the namespace. So now I am ready with the logic. Only thing I have to do means I have to create the endpoint. So go to our public, sorry, file controller. Okay. Here let me create a new endpoint for upload. Okay. Upload and I should have the form payload, right? So from form and I can define my file model. Okay. File. So here I can specify this is a HTTP post request. Okay, and I will define a route like upload. Okay, now here I can simply call await file service dot upload and pass our payload. Return okay with a simple success message. Okay. If we successfully uploaded, we can see in the Azure storage, we have to see our uploaded file. Okay. So let's run the application. So here is our Swagger page and here is our endpoint. So let's test it. Click on tryout. Okay, here request body type will be multi-port form data, which is nothing but our form data contains some file. So here I can choose a file. So let me upload this second call. Okay. And if I click on execute, I have to upload my file into my Azure Blob Storage, which is nothing but Azure Cloud Storage. Okay, let's wait. I got success. If I go to my Azure Cloud Service, so here is my container, right? If I reload, see, second pick is successfully uploaded. Let's try to read the uploaded file from our API endpoint. Okay, for that, let's create one more method to read the file. Okay. So what I will do, I will write a method like, so I am going to return stream of file data, okay, as a output, okay, and method name is like get. Here I want to contain input like file name, okay, name of the file we have uploaded, okay. So now here, same way, first thing is I have to create the instance of the container. So copy this line, add it over here, okay. And next thing, we have to create the blob instance, same like this only. Copy this, and here the file name is from the name variable. Okay. Now what we have to do means where download content. That means we have to fetch it from the Azure Blob Storage. So wait, I can use the blob instance. We have already specified the which blob we are interacting, right? So blob instance dot download content async. Okay, so that going to give us the blob instance. So now I can return that downloaded image as a stream. Okay, for that I can do download content dot value dot content, which is nothing but the stream of data. Sorry, here not download content, download async. That is our method. So from that we are reading the stream of data. Now let's define this in our iFile service. Okay. Now let's create the endpoint, get endpoint. Okay. So public async sky action result get. Okay. And string name of the file and it should be HTTP get type, and let me define route like get. Okay. And now here what I can do, first let's read the image file stream. Okay. So await file service dot get and pass our file name. Here let me check the file type. Okay, string file type. I'm just checking for JPG and PNG. There are a lot of different other types also like WebP. All those things you can add. For this demo, I'm simply checking. By default, I am assigning as a file type. Okay. If at all, file type dot contains, in the name of the file contains something like PNG file. Okay. PNG. Then file type will be PNG. Okay. And return. I can use instead of OK, I can use file method. Okay. So here I can pass my image file stream and type of the file I want to render. I want to render. So here I can specify like image slash specify file type, which type I want to render. Okay. So that is my endpoint. Let's check it. So here we got our get endpoint. Let's try to execute. And in our container, we have 2.jpeg file, right? So I will pass 2.jpeg file name and execute. See, in the response, I am rendering the file. If I paste it in the browser, directly URL, see, I'm able to read the file from the Azure Blob Storage. Okay. So this is the way we have to read the file. And for suppose if you don't want to render the file, you want to just download the file. For that also we can create an endpoint, but the get logic will be the same. Okay, so what I will do, I will simply duplicate this endpoint for implementing the download. Okay, I will change it like download. It is also contains name and everything is fine. Only change is we have to specify the download file name. Okay, so here my download one of the overloaded method file. Okay, here my download file name will be, I will give a generic name like blob file, but type should be defined from our file type. So here file type. Okay, now if I access this endpoint, I must download the file. Okay, so save it and check this new endpoint, download endpoint. And one more thing, we have to change the name of the action method. So download. Okay, now check this endpoint. So here is the download endpoint. We know our file name, right? 2.jpeg. And if I execute, see here 200 response and there is a file link. If I click on this, file get downloaded. Or else if you directly access this endpoint, you can see file gets downloaded automatically. See, file get downloaded. Okay, if I open it, this is the file which was stored in the Azure Blob Storage. Okay, that's it. We are done with uploading file, reading file, downloading file. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like the video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel as well as liking the video. Soon we are going to meet with new content. Until then, signing off.